Healthcare remains one of the most pressing economic challenges in the United States. While large corporations can offer comprehensive coverage, small and mid-sized businesses often struggle to do the same. Rising costs, administrative complexity, and uneven access have left tens of millions of workers underinsured or uninsured. We are here in Davos at the annual summit to speak with Steve Wallen, Chief Executive Officer of Gravie, a company pioneering a new model of health benefits for SMBs. Steve, welcome to Davos and the World Economic Forum. It's great to have you here with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now let's start with the big picture. Why are small and mid-sized businesses struggling so much today with employee health coverage?
Yeah, so small and mid-sized companies, which make up 99% of the companies in the United States, are struggling because they are stuck in plan designs and business models with large health insurance companies that have existed for 50 plus years, and there's been nearly zero innovation in those business models. And so what's happening to these folks is that over half of them are not even offering health insurance today. In fact, 10% of the ones that were dropped health insurance coverage over the last 2 years. And the reason you see that is because health costs in the United States are going up at 9% a year. And for small companies, they're going up nearly double that. So we're seeing 30% increases in folks' healthcare coverage. So it's a real problem for small companies that are trying to offer health benefits to their employees, but they're struggling to do so. And they're seeing spiking costs that are really hurting their business long term.
It seems like a long-standing issue that needs a critical solution now. In the meantime, Gravie has positioned itself as a new kind of health benefits company, specifically addressing the needs of SMBs. What makes your model so different to other offerings out there?
Yeah, so there's some key pieces to what we're doing. So we're really an innovator in the space. The traditional health insurance model that our clients are normally in, it's called fully insured, which essentially means they're paying an amount of money per member to the insurance company, when the insurance company is taking care of everything from there, and they're making a very good margin on that business. What we're doing is we're innovating in 3 different ways. One is we're innovating on plan design and how members, their employees, are experiencing their healthcare. So we're offering a lot of services to those folks for no additional charge, really lowering the barriers for them to get their own healthcare. The second is we're quite a tech-enabled company, which is not the case for most of our health insurance peers. And so our platforms allow ease of transactions to happen. It allows ease of engagement for the employees so they can access telehealth and other benefits that are very hard to access through normal health insurance clients. And then the third is our service levels. So we only focus on small and mid-sized companies. Our large peers, they offer those folks a 1-800 number to call if there are problems. We offer an account services team, implementation teams, a human being that create a one-to-one relationship with not only the companies, but their employees. And so the service levels are much better and they're able to solve problems. And that leads, in our case, to much higher customer satisfaction, nearly 30 points higher than the average health insurance company.
So walk us through in more detail, how do you work closely with these SMBs and the employees themselves?
Sure, in 2 different ways. So when an employer signs up with us, they are immediately assigned an account executive representative who owns that relationship long term. They lead the implementation team so that the implementation of the plan, meaning the getting people stood up, getting all the information and making sure folks have selected and have their plans. And then the ongoing management during the year, there's a single point person for them. And it won't surprise you, there's a lot of things that go on during the year. People leave the companies, people come to the companies, people have babies, people's health situations change. And there's a need to actively work with these clients so that they are having a smooth experience. Then on the employee side, we have a call center that we call Gravie Care. And essentially what that is a one-to-one personal concierge relationship. When you call, the person that answers the call is there to solve your problems end to end. In the case of Gravie Care, you're getting a one-to-one relationship, and then that person is going to follow that issue all the way to completion so that you solve your problems.
Meanwhile, ICHRAs are growing rapidly across the US. What makes them so disruptive, and why are they such a big part in the future of health benefits?
Yeah, so ICHRAs, which is ICHRAs, are a growing portion of what's going on in US healthcare today. About 2 million folks today are receiving healthcare in this fashion. We think that's going to grow to north of 10 million by 2029. if you think about healthcare in the United States, there are really only two stakeholders that care long-term about your health. This is one of the major issues in US healthcare. Those two stakeholders are you and the federal government. Everyone else is transient. You work for companies for a certain period of time. Their health insurance companies work with you for a certain period of time. But their view is a very short-term view, 2, 3, 4-year view. What that means is they don't really have the ability to invest in you to keep you healthier because they're not taking advantage of that down the road. So if I cure or treat your diabetes better, if I treat your diabetes better, your hypertension better, and therefore you are less sick in 10 years, that helps you. And by the way, it helps the federal government who ultimately pays for you, but it doesn't help that health insurance company, so they don't do it. So what ICHRA is allowing you to do is essentially take control of your healthcare. So we are putting people into buying their own health insurance with a subsidy from their company, and then they own that health insurance. So if you happen to leave your company, you simply take that with you, and this can become the health insurance that you keep for the rest of your life until you're 65, and then the federal government takes over. So that's what ICHRA is offering the employee and the healthcare system. It's an individual able to take control of their own healthcare.
Steve, if we look ahead, how can ICHRAs ultimately contribute to economic resilience and productivity? What is the real impact going to be on businesses and the employees and individuals themselves?
Yeah, so one of the things that ICHRA is doing is it's putting the employees, the individuals, into a much larger pool of risk. So there's about 22 million Americans today that are in that individual market. And ICHRA, keep in mind, is an on-ramp for the employees to that individual market. So by spreading risk across this diversified pool, you shield small companies from what I described earlier, which is 1, 2, 3 employees getting very sick. And that drives up those renewal prices, which is why we see that 20 or 30% renewal increase that I mentioned early on. So ICHRAs are allowing people entrance into that market. What we find is that over half of the time, going into an ICHRA model is going to result in a 10% or greater savings. And about a third of the time, it's actually a 20% or greater savings for the employer and employee to go into a model like this and then have control of their healthcare long term. And so we see that as a massive benefit to the employer. The other big thing that happens when you go to an ICHRA model is it stabilizes the future budgeting for the employer. So instead of the employer waking up one day, as I mentioned, and getting a renewal rate that might be 10% or it might be 40% higher, they simply are able to budget. This is what I'm going to spend on my healthcare next year, and this is what I'm going to spend the year after. And so it creates a stability for their business model that they do not have today.
And if we look beyond ICHRAs, you're also offering solutions designed with SMBs in mind, one of them being the flagship product, Comfort. So tell us how that exactly works and how does it help SMEs deal with their current predicaments?
Sure. So if you recall what I said when most of our clients prior to coming on board with Gravie, they're in what's called a fully insured model. Fully insured means you pay an amount a month, it could be $1,000 per employee, and the health insurance company is taking that money, managing risk, building a network, and paying claims. If you look at large companies in the United States, think Disney, Delta Airlines, Citibank, they're all what's called self-insured. What that means is they've decided long ago, I shouldn't be paying a health insurance company to manage risk. Why? Because I already have a pool of 100,000 employees and I already have a diversification that allows me to manage my own risk. So they simply stop paying for that. And so therefore, all they're paying is the medical costs of their employee base. And then on top of that, they're investing in programs to help their employees manage their health better. This results in lower cost trends for them. And so a typical small business employee might be paying 50% more than their peers at large companies as a result. So what we do with our Comfort plan is something that's essentially in the middle. So when someone gives us that premium dollar per employee, we take a chunk of that money and we put it in what we call a claims fund. That's simply a bank account. And when their employees spend or go to the doctor, we simply use those funds to pay their claims as if they were self-insured. And then if an employee goes over a certain amount of spend, that's where Gravie's insurance takes over. It's called stop loss insurance. So if someone goes more than, say, $20,000 in medical spend, Gravie takes over the bill. The reason that's important is because that small company isn't diversified across 100,000 employees. They may have 50, 75, or 100. And one person who might have $500,000 of spend would be completely disruptive to the economics of that small company. And so Gravie prevents that from happening with stop loss insurance. And so by doing this, these small companies are able to achieve the benefits of being self-funded without the risk of being self-funded.
It seems that you've managed to find a very sweet spot in the middle to address this issue, right?
100%. And so that's why you see so much energy around the space. The large insurance model of fully insured is in secular decline, declined about 25%, meaning about a quarter of the folks that were in that model in the last decade has shifted to another model like our level funding product. And in our level funding product, what happens is at the end of the year, very often that claims fund has money left over in it, and that money is rebated back to the employer, so they're taking the advantage of those dollars.
Short and sweet question, just to finally wrap up.
Yep.
Let's say in 10 years' time, an employee signs up to work with a new company. It's a small to medium-sized company.
Yep.
What kind of health benefits do you hope that the majority of Americans can access in a decade's time?
Yeah, so I think in a decade's time, what you're going to see is instead of having 2, 3, or 4 plan options, which is what you get today, they're going to have 50 to 75 options at their disposal, all through the platforms that we provide to them. And they're able to therefore finely tune what they want and their spend to what they actually need. So today, what we believe is many Americans overinsure themselves because they have such limited choice. So they take plans that are much more expensive than they need, that have much bigger networks. So think about the doctors that you go see, or if you're on medications, the medications you take. You might take 1 or 2 medications. You might see 2 to 4 doctors in a year, but you're paying for a network that might have 50,000 doctors in it. And so what the individual market's allowing you to do is to say, well, these are my doctors and these are my drugs, and I'm going to choose my network and I'm going to choose my plan design just based on what I need. And since there are 50, 75, or 100, you can really micro tune it to that amount.
So ultimately having more tailored and personalized health options for you to get coverage.
Exactly, which will allow you to, again, take advantage of investing in yourself, and it also shield you from some of the cost of spending on all this unnecessary stuff.
Well, Steve, I think we all aim for that and would love to see that happen. So it seems you've got a lot on your plate. Enjoy the rest of Davos and the World Economic Forum. And it's been a pleasure speaking with you today.
Thanks, you too. Appreciate it.
As healthcare continues to evolve, Gravie's model represents more than just a product shift. It signals a fundamental change in how the US can deliver equitable, high-quality coverage to every worker. By harnessing technology, data, and human insight, Gravie is bridging the gap between employers and employees, between affordability and access.